Can James Franklin and Penn State silence naysayers with a victory over Oregon? Now is the time for number 2 Penn State and James Franklin. Early November brings the threat of number 1 Ohio State. The Nittany Lions' trip to Columbus would be the Big Ten's first number 1 versus number 2 showdown since Ohio State and Michigan's 2006 matchup, if the current U.S. LBM coaches poll holds true. A week later, Beaver Stadium will host number 12 Indiana. Which teams advance to the conference championship, and the Big Ten standings will be determined by those games. However, Saturday's home game versus number 5 Oregon, a high-profile and crucial encounter that will help address one of the season's most important questions, will have the most impact on Penn State's regular season. Are the Nittany Lions truly suited to win the program's first national title in over 4 decades? Was it prepared for Oregon by the Penn State schedule? For information on the Nittany Lions, don't rely on non-conference play. As anticipated, Penn State's games against Nevada, Florida International, and Villanova were lopsided landslides that provided no indication of how they would do against one of the top teams in the bowl subdivision. Along with number 7 Texas, the Nittany Lions are one of 2 teams without a Power 4 victory and the only one in this week's coaches poll to have not faced at least one Power 4 opponent. The Nittany Lions offense enters Saturday ranked just 41st nationally in yards per play and 46th in yards per game, despite the overmatched opposition. Even though the offense has hardly used starters in the fourth quarter and appears to have been intentionally bland, the relative lack of output contrasts with the team's stellar non-conference campaign the previous season. You've done some off-season studies where there are certain things that you worked on during training camp that you're planning to use against certain opponents, Franklin said, adding that he wasn't sure if saving was the plan. Additionally, there are certain items that you could have utilized earlier in the season but chose not to use. Yes, I believe that to be true at all times. However, head coaches, offensive coordinators, and defense coordinators don't just go into a game declaring, "We're going to be conservative," or vanilla. The first 3 games' performances stand in sharp contrast to the opening schedule from the previous season. When playing Kent State, West Virginia, and Bowling Green in 2024, the Nittany Lions averaged 8.1 yards per play. In contrast to the 5 touchdowns and 7.4 yards per pass in the first 3 games of this season, quarterback Drew Allar had 11 touchdowns and averaged 12.3 yards per attempt. On third down, PSU's conversion rate of only 38.9% places them 77th in the FBS, which is another red flag. According to Allar, I think it's always an ongoing process throughout the year, no matter what. Over the course of the entire year, I don't think you ever find yourself where you want to be. Our offensive strategy will always be changing. The Nittany Lions have established themselves as one of the top teams in the Power 4 thanks to their experience, a wealth of talented players, a significantly enhanced defensive front, and the foundation for another top-ranked defense. The Ducks, however, will test this theory. Oregon is still in control during the regular season. Against a team that hasn't lost a Big Ten regular season game since joining the conference last year, this smooth streak to start September comes to an end. Before falling to eventual national champion Ohio State in its Rose Bowl quarterfinal, Oregon was the only undefeated team in the FBS going into the first 12-team college football playoff. The Ducks won the Big Ten title by defeating Penn State 45-37 to end the regular season. In addition to defeating Oregon State in a rivalry, Oregon has already faced 2 Power 4 opponents, Oklahoma State and Northwestern. The Ducks win games by an average of 41.5 points each contest. Oregon is at or near the top of the FBS by almost every category. Along with Indiana, the Ducks are one of just 2 teams in the top 8 in the country for both offense and defense. They have only committed 14 penalties, including 1 penalty-free game against the Wildcats, and have only given up 1 sack. Oregon is one of 4 teams who have not allowed a score through the air and has only allowed 4 touchdowns on defense. It will definitely be enjoyable to play against a team like this, said Kieran Hudson, a wide receiver for Penn State. Because of this, Oregon is the final test of the Nittany Lions' ability to contend for a championship. Given that the Ducks were the clear number 1 for weeks of the previous season, this opponent has no apparent flaws and has already established itself as the top team in college football. Very challenging. What a fantastic opportunity, Franklin added. It goes without saying that we need this place to rock. Must possess a clear home field advantage. We always do, but I anticipate that this will be a completely new situation. Drew Allar and James Franklin are under pressure. Allar and Franklin are the two people who bring the most weight and pressure in a Saturday. The senior quarterback was held accountable for the Nittany Lions' 27-24 loss to Notre Dame in the national playoffs going into the offseason. With 7 seconds remaining, Allar's misplaced attempt over the center of the field was intercepted by the Fighting Irish, resulting in the game-winning field goal. The game was tied with less than a minute remaining. Allar, who is currently in his 3rd season as a starter and has already established himself as one of the best passers in program history, appears to be carrying over some of that disappointing conclusion from his performance in non-conference play. Allar's late interception against the Irish would be forgotten, though, and he would once again be regarded as one of the best quarterbacks in the FBS if he defeated Oregon and outperformed his sophomore counterpart, Dante Moore. Additionally, a victory would change the perception of the Nittany Lions' struggles versus highly regarded opponents. Last year, Ohio State, Oregon, and Notre Dame all suffered defeats against top 5 opponents. When it comes to the confidence and execution required to play in these kinds of games, Franklin stated, "I just think we're in a much different place." However, his reign has been characterized by defeats to elite opponents. Since Franklin was hired in 2014, the Nittany Lions have won 71.2% of their games, but Franklin is only 1-13 when facing teams ranked in the top 5 of the Associated Press poll.